Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. It's time for Raw, May 12th, 2014, from Greenville, South Carolina. Or at least, I think that's where it was. I didn't catch the thing 15 minutes before Raw because I was busy playing WWE 2K14. Yeah, I finally decided to get that game. Anyways, moving on. The show starts with a recap of the Battle Royal from last week for the United States title. Sheamus winning, and then the match between the Shield and the Wyatts from the end of the show, and Evolution beating down the Shield. That, of course, segues into live in the ring. The Shield has already come out, all three of them, they're in the ring, and they start cutting promos. Ambrose cuts a great promo, and Rollins cuts promo too, and I think while Ambrose and Rollins were talking, Roman's just kind of pacing in the background. And Seth wraps up his promo, and he looks over at Roman, he's like, "You okay, big man? And he looks at Romo. He looks over at Roman and he says, "You okay, man?" And Roman just kind of shakes his head. And Rollins like, "You got something you want to say?" And Roman's like, "Yeah." He starts nodding. He's like, "Yeah." He takes the mic. And so Roman says, "Yeah." Roman says, "We're gonna take it to the Shield, and we're going to make you believe in the Shield. And me, personally, I'm going to make you believe in me." Then all of a sudden, up on the Titantron, we get video feed from backstage, and there's a limo pulling up. And of course, the three Shield guys are watching. They're like, "Oh yeah, I think we know who that is." And of course, some dick in a suit comes over and opens up the door, and out pops Triple H, and Batista, and Randy. And immediately, Rollins and Ambrose and Reigns, they jump out of the ring, they run up the ramp, jump off the side of it, go around the side of the stage, back to the backstage. And because I think what it was something that Rollins and Ambrose both said is they were going to take the fight right to Evolution. We're going to get you. You can't hide. We're going to get you as soon as we can. And so Evolution shows up, and the camera cuts back to the limo, and there's Triple H and Randy and Batista, and Triple H signs something. Somebody comes up. It's probably like official documents or whatever the fuck. Doesn't matter. He signs it, and then the three of them, they start walking forward a bit. They get maybe 5 steps away from the limo, and here comes the Shield. They just dive on him and start beating the fuck out of him. Beating the shit out of him. They beat the hell out of Evolution. But the fight gets broken up by, like, security and referees or whatever the fuck. And so, Shield guys get taken away. And Triple H is left flat on his back in his suit. And so that's the end of that segment. We get hype for a rematch from SmackDown. John Cena and the Usos versus the Wyatts. And we're going to get that later. Great. Cutting back to the arena, RVD comes out. And then it cuts to commercial. And when we come back, Zeb Coulter is talking in the ring. And Swagger's there next to him with his goofy sign that has Coulter's deportation list on it. And Coulter happens to mention the newest addition to the deportation list is Adam Rose. And right on cue, the goofy, weird music hits, and out comes Rose's Exotic Express, his party people, or whatever the fuck you want to call them. And of course, they're followed by Adam Rose, who comes out. And they're dancing and whatever the hell, and Rose gets up on the apron, with the party people behind him down on the floor, of course. And He's just kind of taunting Swagger. Swagger runs up to him to try to punch him, but just as he does, Rose falls backwards, the little trust fall thing, and so he completely dodges Swagger's punch and makes Swagger look like a jackass. The party people carry Rose all the way around the ring, like all the way around, and Coulter even had to jump up onto the apron to stay away from him. Anyways, let's see. Swagger and Coulter are watching the Exotic Express carry Rose around the ring, and obviously we're supposed to get a match between RVD and Swagger. I think Rob came up behind Swagger and kicked him in the back of the head or something, but he laid Swagger out somehow. The referee rings the bell, starts the match. Rob goes up to the top rope, hits the 5-star frog splash. 1, 2, 3, match is fucking over. That was it. So, Swagger gets squashed. RVD gets out of the fucking ring, and he kinda celebrates with Rose and the party people. And that's it for that segment. Commentators segue into a video package about Paige. You know, our new Divas champion who's been on a winning streak, and, you know, it's talking about how she's different and shit, you know. After that, it cuts to a commercial, and coming back, we get another video for Bo Dallas. My God. I think we get 2 or 3 more of these, or at least 2 more, by the end of the show. So tell you what, I'm going to give my thoughts on this at the end, after I get done. So let's just wait for that. Coming back from the commercial, after the Bo video, Paige's music hits and she comes out. And as she's coming out, camera cuts back to the ring, and there's Alicia Fox, who's already in the ring. And just as Paige is kind of finishing up her entrance, you know, she takes her leather jacket off, and she does her little scream on the apron, and Alicia has a microphone. And she kind of bangs on it a couple of times to get Paige to pay attention, and she starts talking. Can't remember a damn thing that she said. You know, basically just saying that, you know, all the other divas in the locker room don't like you, and, you know, you don't fit in and all this, and they're like... And I'm thinking, gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because they're all jealous of how much more talented Paige is than the rest of them. That's probably why. At the end of Fox's little promo, I think she cracks Paige in the face with the mic. And of course, that knocks Paige on her ass. And so Fox starts beating her down. She's kicking her and she's whacking on her and shit. And finally, the ref does his job and backs her the hell up. And Fox starts yelling, see if she's okay, start the match, that kind of thing. And so the ref goes over to Paige and he's like, do you want to start the match? And I guess she said yes, because the ref starts the match. Fox immediately starts beating on her again, whatever the fuck. There was an interesting spot where Fox caught Paige with like a tilt-a-whirl into a backbreaker, held on to her, picked her back up like a sidewalk slam, but then just kind of threw her in between the ropes, and Paige landed on her back on the apron and then fell to the floor. So it was like an apron backbreaker. Either way, match continues. The match is basically just Paige getting beat up by Fox. Fox did a Northern Lights suplex. But then, out of nowhere, I guess Paige countered something, hit the Paige turner on Fox, and got the win. So, Paige wins. The match... Considering it was Fox on offense the whole time, it was just really awkward. She is just so awkward in the ring. And I really don't see why anybody would like her. And there are people that do like her. As stupid as that is. But anyways, immediately after the match, Fox basically no-sells the Paige turner. She gets up, she rolls out of the ring. Paige has already kind of jumped out and gone up the ramp with the Divas title. Fox freaks the fuck out. She's all pissed off. She throws her own little entrance attire that she had, this goofy skirt or some shit, and it bounced off the ropes and practically hit her in the face. She tears up the commentary table. She throws JBL's hat, throwing a fit. And then she picks up JBL's hat, puts it on, and walks up the ramp and leaves. And I'm like, well, that was the most awkward fit I've ever seen anybody throw before. It was awful. This girl is awful. Anyways, moving on. We get like a video package, kind of a recap of Kane's rampage that he's been on, you know, all the stuff from Raw last week, yada yada. And that segues into the commentators once again announcing that Bryan will address the universe next. And then they cut to a commercial break. And of course, coming back from the break, Bryan comes out and he's talking, and the basic gist of it is, after, you know, the beating Kane gave me the other week when he tombstoned me 3 fucking times, and all this other stuff, my neck is hurt, and I need surgery. And apparently this is legit. Bryan's neck is actually fucked up, and he's really going in for surgery this coming Thursday. And so he's going to have to leave for a while. And he says he doesn't know when he's going to be able to come back. But he says that he will be back. And that's basically the end of it. We get another recap this week, or this time, from the cage match at Extreme Rules, Cena and Bray. And we also see, I guess it's the recap from Raw last week of whatever it was that happened between Cena and Bray again. And also of John Cena's promo addressing Bray from main event last week. And so, again, we get more hype for the Cena and Usos versus Wyatt's match. And they cut to another commercial. Coming back from the commercial, Cena comes out. Mixed reaction, of course. And then the Usos come out, and then the Wyatts come out. And then they cut to another commercial break. Yeah, they cut to a commercial break in the middle of the Wyatts' entrance. And so, when we come back from the commercial, the match is starting. And it's a pretty boring match. Cena gets the STF on Rowan, but Bray jumps in the ring and does his big running senton to break it up. And I'm thinking, why isn't the ref calling for a DQ like he did the last time? Anyways, Bray goes for the Sister Abigail on Cena. But one of the Usos jumps in the ring and super kicks Bray in the face. And Bray staggers a second, and then he turns around, and he gets super kicked in the face again by the other Uso. And that knocks Bray down, I guess. The two Usos both dive out of the ring to wipe out Rowan and Harper. And that leaves Cena in there with Bray. Cena gets Bray up, hits the attitude adjustment, and wins. So Cena and the Usos win. Cena and the Usos, they get out of the ring, they go up to the stage, and Bray all of a sudden has a microphone. He says, "John, wait! I want to thank you for helping me realize what I must do now." And he kind of laughs a bit, and follow the buzzards, and the cutaway gag. And then the commentators say, Evolution is going to be up next. They're going to respond to getting attacked by the Shield earlier, and that'll be next, and we cut to another commercial break. Coming back, line in the sand hits, and out comes Evolution. And Triple H is still wearing his suit. Like an idiot. Of course, Randy and Batista are both in their trunks and their wrestling gear. While Evolution's coming out, we get a recap from earlier, the beating. Back in the ring, Randy talks and Triple H talks, and they're, Randy's like, I'm sick of this, we're sick of this, Dave is sick of it, we need to do something about the Shield. And Triple H talks, saying that he's like, you know what, you're right. At first I was trying to help the Shield out, I brought them in and everything, and whatever the fuck. Oh, right. And one of the things that the Shield guys said earlier in their promo is that they want a rematch against Evolution. Even though they already beat them, they want a rematch. And so Triple H says, you know what, you want a rematch? And Triple H even brings it up. You want a rematch to the match you already won? Fine, we'll give it to you. And he says, we're going to take you guys out one at a time. We're going to start with Ambrose, and then we're going to take Rollins. And he refers to Rollins as the hummingbird of the Shield, and he's going to rip the wings off himself. And he says, we're going to finish with Roman, and we're going to take our time on you. And we're going to make sure you don't come back from this, whatever the fuck. And just as Triple H is finishing, he gets chop blocked from behind by Rollins. And there's Roman and Ambrose who are beating on Randy and Dave, and there's another fight breaking out. And the Shield clears Evolution the fuck out. And the three of them are backing up the ramp again. And Triple H has a mic, but before he can say anything, Batista grabs it away from him. He's like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. And he says, you know what, big man, Roman, you and me tonight. So he basically challenges Roman to a match. And apparently Roman accepted because we're getting the match. But we cut to a commercial. Coming back from the commercial, there's a group of the Divas at ringside. And it's Brie Bella, Cameron and Naomi, Eva Marie, and actually I think that's it. And they're holding up cards with numbers on them. So obviously this is a scoring thing. Oh, we're going to score you. The Bella music hits and out comes Nikki. And then Natalia's music and she comes out. And they played a recap essentially from the Total Divas show. Yes, they're still trying to shoehorn storylines from the Total Divas show, which by the way was filmed months ago. They're trying to shoehorn that shit into the show, which is happening live tonight. But they show a recap of it, and the reason behind this match is apparently Natalya painted a picture of Nikki and John kissing. Like, I don't know, I think it was probably shown on the show, but like Nikki jumped up into Cena's arms and they started kissing. And so Natalya painted a picture of it, and she gave that to Nikki. Nikki hated it because she's a bitch and insulted it, and so Natalya's pissed, and so that's why we're having the match. And so we have the match, and it's a shit match, of course, because Nikki is terrible, and Natalya can't carry shitty wrestlers. Nikki did a springboard off of the second turnbuckle in one of the corners, and she basically did like a disaster kick, or it looked more like a disaster knee to the face on Natalya. There was a slap fight between the two. Natalya locked Nikki in an abdominal stretch, which was reversed, and Nikki locked in her own. And then the finish of the match comes when Natalya tried to do a wheelbarrow into a roll-up, and Nikki blocked it, dropped down, and got the win on Natalya. So Nikki, of course, wins with a terrible roll-up. And so Nikki goes out and celebrates with the other divas who were, putting up scores the whole time for everything, which was just stupid. And Natalya comes out and she grabs the stupid scores and whatever the fuck, and it's just this stupid shit. And them continuing to bury Natalya when she's the most talented wrestler in the division. And they just continue to shit all over her. We get more hype for Batista, or actually, I think this is actually the first time they hyped it up. But I saw it so many times during the show, I felt like I'm seeing it again. We get hype for the Batista versus Roman Reigns match. And they cut to a commercial. Coming back from the commercial, we get the Raw Rewind, again, recapping the U.S. title Battle Royal from last week. And of course, that segues into what happens. Rybaxel's Megamix music hits, and the two of them clowns come out. And then Sheamus comes out. So apparently we're going to get a match between Sheamus and either Ryback or Axel. And apparently to determine this, they did a coin flip. Axel wins, I guess, and so he ends up going against Sheamus. Match was boring. So boring that the crowd started chanting Goldberg at Ryback, who wasn't even in the match. Axel hits a corner neck breaker. Sheamus was basically in the Tree of Woe. Or not really. He got Sheamus crouched backwards on the turnbuckle and then grabs him and neck breakers him down. But what ends up happening is Sheamus locks the clover leaf on Axel, and Axel taps out like the bitch that he is, and so Sheamus wins. But immediately, Ryback jumps in the ring and attacks Sheamus. And whatever, Sheamus gets backed off, and Ryback's like, "You want to fight? Come on, fight me." And so one of the commentators says, apparently we're going to have another match. Right before it cuts to commercial. And so coming back from the commercial, Ryback and Sheamus are having a match. It's already started. And this one turned out to be okay. Ryback goes for his little running splash, but Sheamus counters it by getting his knees up. Sheamus hits his rope hung clubbing thing. Ryback hits his backpack stunner, which is cool because I haven't seen him do that in a while. Ryback goes for the meat hook, but Sheamus ducks the clothesline, and as Ryback turns around, he gets Ryback up on his shoulders and he hits the white noise. So that was kind of a cool counter into the white noise. And what ends up happening is Sheamus finally gets the brogue kick. He hits it, and he gets the win. So Sheamus wins. This match was actually okay. I wouldn't say it was anything great or anything. More hype for Reigns versus Batista, and they cut to another commercial break. Coming back, they announced that tomorrow night on Main Event, we're going to get Sheamus versus Cesaro. And then Stephanie's music hits, and she comes out to no reaction. And she talks about Bryan, and, talking about the injury, and, and I've been telling you this whole time, Bryan, you're just not an A-plus player, whatever the fuck. He asks Bryan to come out because she has something to say to him. There's a pause, and then the stage blows up with Kane's pyro, and his music is playing. And Kane comes out, dragging Bryan by his arm. Dragging him across the stage. He drags him out to about the middle of the stage. And then Kane just leaves. And the camera gets a good look at Bryan. He's beat up. His shirt's all ripped up. Kane leaves. His music stops. The lights come back on. And out comes the ring doctor, the trainer or whatever, and he's looking at Bryan like, "Are you okay, Bryan? Whatever." Some paramedics come out with a stretcher, and then out comes Brie Bella, and she's like, "Oh my God, Daniel, are you okay?" Stephanie comes up the ramp, and she's checking on him too. Whatever. They put him on the stretcher, and they stretcher him out, and they cut to another commercial. And I also added at this point, there's only 1 hour left of the show, because this all finished at about 10:05 or whatever. There's only 1 hour left of this show, thank God. Because as soon as Bryan gave his promo saying that he was going to be leaving for a while, I'm like, well, great, now I've got only one good reason to keep watching, and that's for the Shield. It's really not looking good at this point, folks. Anyways, coming back from the commercial, they're loading Bryan into an ambulance backstage. And Brie's there, and Stephanie's there, and Steph's trying to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't, mean for this to happen." And Brie tells Steph to stay away, and she shoves her. And Brie gets in the ambulance with Bryan, and the ambulance takes off. Cutting back to the ring, Dolph Ziggler is already in the ring. And then Fandango's music hits, and he comes out with Layla, of course. And we get a match between these two. And it was a decent match. Ziggler hits his drop kick, and he does his corner splash, mounting into the punching, which he drops down into his neck breaker. That's becoming a nifty little combo of his. He goes for the Famouser, but Johnny ducks it, gets out of the way, grabs Dolph on the recoil, picks him up, and gives him the Falcon's Arrow. And he went for a cover after that, but he only got a 2. And then Johnny does what he should have done after the Falcon's Arrow. He goes up for the leg drop. But Dolph gets up, and I don't know what happened. I think Johnny just jumped off the top rope and landed on his feet. And as he lands, Ziggler comes running up, grabs Johnny, and gives him the Famouser. I think it was about at this point where Layla jumps up on the apron to distract Ziggler. And as Dolph turns back, he gets nailed with a spinning heel kick from Johnny. But then Johnny goes over to the ropes to check on Layla. I don't know why. It's not like Dolph hit her or anything. But Johnny's checking on Layla. Ziggler jumps up, grabs Johnny, hits the zigzag. And Ziggler gets the win. So, that's nice. It's still kind of lousy that the only reason Ziggler was able to get a win is because Johnny was distracted by Layla. And so, the commentators are like, "Oh shit, that's the first time Layla has failed since joining up with Fandango." And they're like, this is bad because this is kind of what spelled the end for Summer. Speaking of Summer, have we seen her at all since Johnny dumped her? I don't think so. Who cares? Anyways, moving on. Ziggler leaves, obviously. Layla gets in the ring and she's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, whatever the fuck." Johnny gets a mic and he starts talking, and he basically says he forgives her and that he doesn't care that he lost the match. He doesn't care that Ziggler won, whatever. Johnny says that he loves Layla. "I love you, Layla." And he starts making out with her. They kiss and shit. And I'm like, okay. And for some idiotic reason, JBL, who was so for Johnny and Layla the whole match, they start making out, and he's like, "Oh, will you please stop this? Cut to commercial and shit." And I'm like, really, dude? You need to shut the fuck up. Anyways, moving on. More hype for Reigns and Batista, and they cut to commercial. And coming back from the commercial, and out comes Hacksaw Jim Duggan. What do you think's about to happen? We have Mr. Pro America. Yeah. He talks about being on the Legend House, and by the way, he's not dressed to wrestle. He's in a button-up shirt and some nice pants, whatever the fuck. He's talking about being in the Legend House, yada yada. And then Lana's music hits, of course, and she comes out. And she talks about Russia and America and how America sucks now and China has overtaken, it's better than you and all this other shit. Back in the ring, Duggan's like, yeah, but you forgot about one thing. USA! And he gets the fans to start chanting USA and everything. Finally, Lana introduces Rusev, who comes out to crickets once again because nobody likes this guy. And Lana and Rusev get in the ring, and Lana is like kind of holding Rusev back. She's like, wait. She looks at Hacksaw, and she still has the mic, and she says, I'm going to give you one chance. I want you to beg for mercy. And of course, Duggan says no. And Rusev steps forward and breaks Hacksaw's 2x4, because of course Hacksaw has his 2x4. And he's like backed in the corner like, come on, motherfucker. But Rusev grabs it and breaks it, I guess, whatever the fuck. And Lana's like, that was your one chance. And she looks at Rusev and she's like, Rusev, crush! And just as Rusev goes to lunge at Hacksaw, camera goes up to the ramp. Here comes Big E! Oh yeah, and his music hit too. Big E comes running down the ramp and he jumps in the ring. And he proceeds to get his ass kicked by Rusev. And Rusev chucks his ass out of the ring. And so Big E's in the corner of the barricade, and Hacksaw's with him, and, you know, whatever. And I'm just like, wow, that was weird. Normally, like, the face would come out and fight off the heel. How in the fuck? Who screwed this up? Because, good God. And so Rusev's music is playing, and the crowd is dead, of course, because nobody likes this guy. And speaking of this goofy anti-American gimmick, I think it's funny. I found out that Lana is actually from Florida. I don't think she's actually Russian. She might be of Russian descent, but she was born in Florida. So, that's kind of funny. Moving on. We get a recap of the Shield attacking Evolution at the start of the show. You know, the attack by the limo. And then the other attack in the ring where, Evolution was talking in the ring. They recap that too. And of course we get more hype for Reigns and Batista. And we cut to another commercial break. Coming back from the commercial break, Sandow's music is playing, and he's coming out. And the music stops, and he starts talking while he's on his way to the ring. And apparently, on the pre-show, before the show, on the WWE Network, Sandow essentially cut a pipe bomb promo, where he bitched about the creative team screwing him over and shit. And so he mentions that, and he's talking, he's like, maybe I'm gonna tell you how I really feel, and maybe not. But he's like he's getting ready to say something, and all of a sudden, the Cody Rhodes and Goldust Mega Mix hits. And the two of those guys come out. And so we have a revitalization or whatever of the feud between Cody and Sandow, the former Rhodes Scholars. And we get a match between the two of them, yes. A match that turns out to be decent. Let's see. Sandow hit his big Russian leg sweep, and then he went for the elbow of disdain, but Cody got out of the way. Cody went for the crossroads, but Damian countered by just basically giving Cody a snapmare. And what ends up happening is Cody hits the disaster kick and gets the win. And the crowd don't give a fuck. They're dead. And so I'm thinking, okay, now that, Cody, and the whole match, the commentators are talking, Cody just can't get out of the blocks. He's been on a losing streak, whatever the fuck. And I'm thinking, okay, now that Cody's got his win, him and Goldust are going to piss off. And Sandow's going to finish cutting his promo. Nope. They just cut away. More hype for Reigns and Batista, and that's going to be next. Finally, we get the main event. And they cut to another commercial. And coming back from this commercial, we get another Bo Dallas video. So I guess that was only 2 then. Whatever, who cares? Coming back in, we get a recap of Bryans' promo from earlier, as well as another recap of Kane dragging him out onto the stage, and him being stretchered out and being put into the ambulance and everything. And then we get the Wyatt cut. And it cuts up to the Titantron where Bray starts cutting a promo. And the basic gist of it is, he's challenging Cena to a last man standing match. And he starts singing, whole world in his hands, whatever the fuck. And then he says, burn. And then the cutaway gag. So, whatever. By the way, Bray, I don't know if you know this, but nobody has ever beat John Cena in a last man standing match. Or maybe I'm thinking of an I Quit match. I don't know. I don't think it matters. I don't think anybody's beat Cena in a last man standing match either. You're not going to win this one. Anyways, Shield music hits and the 3 of them come out. And then we cut to another commercial break. And coming back from the commercial break, they announce that for SmackDown this Friday, Cena will answer Bray's challenge. Okay, fine. Line in the sand hits again, and out comes Evolution. And Triple H has finally changed out of his suit. He's now wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and he's got his fists taped. Because he knows he's finally about to fight, actually. But anyways, we get the match of Roman Reigns versus Batista. There's a Batista chant real early. And then what happens is Batista ends up throated on the ropes. Because Roman knocked him down. And of course, Batista's on the side of the ring where Randy and Triple H are hanging out. And the 2 of them jump up onto the apron to make sure that Roman doesn't do anything. Well, Ambrose and Rollins jump up on the apron on the other side of the ring. And there's basically like a standoff. Whatever, doesn't last for long. What ends up happening is Roman gets Batista throated on the ropes on the other side of the ring. And he jumps out of the ring to go do his apron drop kick, but Triple H and Randy are standing in the way. All of a sudden, here come Ambrose and Rollins, suicide diving from the ring. They dive out of the ring on top of Triple H and Randy and get them the hell out of the way. Roman, he's like, whatever. He jumps up and apron drop kicks Batista in the face. And I think Roman was setting up to do the Superman punch. Triple H grabbed him by the leg, pulled him out of the ring, and started fighting him. So, of course, DQ is called. And I'm going to guess Roman wins by DQ. I don't know. Again, there was no official announcement. Who cares? Big fight between the 6 of them. And the Shield has the upper hand. They're beating the hell out of all 3 Evolution guys in the ring. Until all of a sudden, camera cuts up to the stage. There's Stephanie. And she's like, come on, come on, come on. And out come the fucking heels again. The group of jobber heels come out. Titus O'Neil, Brodus Clay, 3MB, Fandango. I can't remember all of them, but those guys were in there. They come in and they start beating down the Shield. And they throw Ambrose and Rollins out of the ring. And Triple H jumps out of the ring, and he goes over to the timekeeper area, and he grabs himself a chair. And he gets back in the ring, and Roman is being held back by the heels. And apparently they're not doing a very good job, because as Triple H comes up to hit Roman over the head with the chair, Roman breaks free, sprints out, and spears the fuck out of Triple H. The heels jump on top of Roman, they're beating him down, and then all of a sudden, in come Rollins and Ambrose with their own chairs, and they start fighting off the heels. And they're fighting them off and fighting them off. And they pretty much clear the ring aside from a few of them. Fandango takes the headlock driver, which apparently, according to Michael Cole, Ambrose calls that the dirty deeds. But Johnny takes the headlock driver on the chair, plants him headfirst on the chair. Curtis Axel, yeah, he was one of the heels too, and so was Ryback, of course. Axel takes Rollins' curb stomp, the blackout, or whatever the fuck Cole said it was called. But Axel takes the blackout on the chair. And Slater, he gets the Superman punch from Roman. And then Ryback gets speared, and he also gets the Fall of Justice, the triple power bomb. And then the Shield are standing tall. They've cleared out all the heels. Evolution are backing up the ramp. They're pissed off. Back in the ring. The Shield guys, they do their fists together pose. And that's the end of the show. So, yeah. Yeah. So that was the end of the show. So, aside from the show being pretty boring, and the terrible news that Bryan, our current reigning WWE World Heavyweight Champion, is going to be going away for a while after taking neck surgery, or going through neck surgery. You know, like I said, the rest of the show was pretty boring, but we get a good ending with the Shield fighting off the entire heel locker room, basically, and Evolution, looking like friggin' beasts, which is great. Yeah. As always, we'll go over the matches again. RVD jobs out Jack Swagger in pretty much a fucking squash match, because Swagger was so distracted by Adam Rose. Paige jobs out Alicia Fox after getting her ass kicked the whole match. I don't really like this. You have Paige win out of nowhere with one move, while she gets her ass kicked the whole match. It's a John Cena match. And I've been very clear, I've never liked that. So, yeah. I don't know if they're trying to make Paige look ridiculously strong, like she takes this ridiculous beating at the hands of Fox, and Fox even clocked her with the microphone before the match, and Fox just beats on her, and Paige counters, hits the Paige turner, and wins out of nowhere. Like I said, I don't know if they're trying to make Paige look ridiculously strong and make the other divas look like complete crap, because, you know, most of them are. I don't know if that's what they're going for or not, but maybe it was just the fact that it was Fox and all of her offense looks awful and awkward as all hell. I don't know. Maybe if Paige had beat up one of the other, or not Paige, beat up, but if Paige had been in there with one of the other heel divas, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, you get that. And then you have Cena and the Usos winning the rematch with the Wyatts. I think they won the match on SmackDown too, didn't they? I don't know or care. We got Nikki Bella beating Natalya in a shit match, with the other idiot divas keeping score the whole match. Stupid shit there. Sheamus defeats Curtis Axel in a boring match, and then defeats Ryback in an okay match. Ziggler beats Fandango in a decent match. And Cody beats Sandow in a decent match, but still gets no fucking reaction because he's boring. And then Reigns and Batista, I'm going to guess, goes to a no contest. Who cares, I guess. And we get... The Shield gets beat up only to come back and fight off all the heels and Evolution and stand tall like the beasts that they are. So we get a decent ending to the show for once, but still the rest of the show was pretty weak. Bryans going away for a while. That's really bad. I don't know how many thousands of people are going to not watch because he's not on the show. How much do you want to bet that the ratings for the show next week tank without Bryan? Because I know for me, he's one of the main reasons I watch the show. You know, his matches are exciting for the most part. And he's a great wrestler. So, I don't know. It's looking like he's going to end up having to vacate the title. Because with a neck injury and having to get surgery, he's probably going to be out for at least a couple of months. And they'll probably have him vacate the title because he can't defend it. Which is funny because, you know, how long did they let Ambrose go without defending the U.S. title? They don't seem to follow that rule anymore, which is dumb. But whatever. Yeah. I guess the show wasn't that bad. I guess it probably wasn't as bad as it was last week, but whatever. Now to give my thoughts on Bo, as I said I was going to. This guy is in for one hell of a rude awakening when he makes his debut, whenever the hell they finally get around to that bullshit. Bullshit. This guy, I about guarantee you, when Bo Dallas makes his grand re-debut on Raw, or no, I think I actually said last week that he was supposed to make his debut this week on SmackDown. But when it finally happens, I about guarantee you, one of two different things is going to happen. Either he's going to get no reaction whatsoever, and the crowd may actually turn their backs on him like they did on NXT, or he's just going to get booed out of the building so bad to the fact where even if he tries to cut a promo, you're not going to be able to hear a word he says. It's just really, really annoying that they still think this guy is worth a damn. He's got this boring, bland, generic look. He's really not that good of a wrestler. He's got, like, no fucking charisma. There's nothing to this guy. Nothing redeemable whatsoever. And the crowd are not going to give a fuck about him. He's either going to get dead silence or so much go away heel heat that I don't know where you think you're going to go with this guy. You've got so many other much more talented people on NXT that you could bring up. You have Adrian Neville, you have Sami Zayn, you have the Ascension, Connor and Victor. And by the way, you really need to bring those two up because the tag division is hurting real bad. The Usos right now pretty much have no competition, unless they're finally going to get fed to Harper and Rowan, which has apparently been hinted at for a while. And Harper and Rowan held the NXT tag team titles for a while until, let's see, I think Adrian Neville Corey Graves took the titles from them. Speaking of other good, talented guys on NXT, Corey Graves... But seriously, bring up the Ascension. Those guys are freaking awesome. Now, I won't particularly say that they're super great wrestlers. And Connor has gotten bulked up. I mean, like, if you remember seeing Connor O'Brien on that one season of NXT where he was the rat guy or whatever the fuck, he looks so much different. He's gotten so much bulkier. The dude is huge. And him and Victor just beat the ever-loving piss out of people in their matches. I think I tried to watch an episode of NXT on Hulu the other day, and they just jobbed out these two jobbers. It was fucking great. And their entrance is freaking awesome. Seriously, bring these guys up to the main roster and have them just dominate the Usos and take the tag titles from them. You don't have to do it on their first night. We don't need a repeat of Paige, but have Ascension debut. Build them up for a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever. Then have them just destroy the Usos. And send the fucking Usos packing, because honestly, I've said it a million times. The Usos ain't that great. They can fly and whoop-de-shit, and I don't really care. Again, hardly any charisma, and they're not that great of wrestlers. And they're just boring, generic Samoan wrestlers. They do the same Samoan moves that every other Samoan wrestler does. They got their super kick, and they got their ass swamp in the corner, and a Samoan drop, of course. And that's pretty much... Oh, and they even steal the Superfly Splash. Whoop-de-doo. That's all they got. That's all they fucking got. There's nothing really unique or special about them. We need more tag teams. You can bring up the Ascension. Fuck's sake. You guys fired Cassius Ohno. And you could have brought him up and had him team with Cesaro and bring back the Kings of Wrestling. That would have been great for the tag team division. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be talking about Raw. Wasn't that good. Decent ending. Daniel Bryan's going away for a while. Yeah, that's not so great. Guess that's really it for the show. So, yeah, that was Raw from May 12th, 2014. Greenville, South Carolina, I guess. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode when we go over the SmackDown spoilers, and hopefully this time I'll be able to get it up on time. We'll see you next time for that. Please join us next time.